The summer that I was 10. Can it be there was only one summer that I was 10? It must have been a long one then. Each day I'd go out to choose a fresh horse from my stable, which was a willow grove down by the old canal. I'd go on my two bare feet, but when, with my brother's jackknife, I'd cut me a long, limber horse with a good thick knob for a head, and peeled him slick and clean, except a few leaves for the tail, and cinched my brother's belt around his head for a rein. I'd straddle and canter him fast up the grass bank to the path, trot along in the lovely dust that talcumed over his hoofs, hiding my toes, and turning his feet to swift half-moons. The willow knob with the strap jouncing between my thighs was the pommel and yet the pole of my nickering pony's head. My head and neck were mine, yet they were shaped like a horse. My hair flopped to the side, like the mane of a horse in the wind. My forelock swung in my eyes, my neck arched, and I snorted. I shied and skittered and reared, stopped and raised my knees, pawed at the ground and quivered. My teeth bared as we wheeled, and swished through the dust again. I was the horse and the rider, and the leather I slapped to his rump spanked my own behind. Doubled, my two hoofs beat a gallop along the bank. The wind twanged in my mane, and mouth squared to the bit, and yet I sat on my steed, quiet, negligent riding, my toes standing the stirrups, my thighs hugging his ribs. At a walk, we drew up to the porch. I tethered him to a paling. Dismounting, I smoothed my skirt and entered the dusky hall. My feet, on the clean linoleum, left ghostly toes in the hall. "Where have you been?" said my mother. "Been riding," I said from the sink, and filled me a glass of water. "What's that in your pocket?" she said. "Just my knife." It weighted my pocket and stretched my dress awry. "Go tie back your hair," said my mother. "And why is your mouth all green?" "Rob Roy, he pulled some clover as we crossed the field," I told her.
So now on to the analysis of the poem The Centaur by Mae Swenson, and we will be using soapstone to do so. So the speaker of this poem is a woman looking back on a summer when she was 10. The reader can see this in the first line that it says the summer that I was 10. Throughout the poem it also uses first-person pronouns such as I, and you can infer that the speaker is a girl because she talks about her dress towards the end of the poem. The occasion of this poem is the summer when the speaker was 10, which is stated in the first line. The speaker says that it was a very long summer because each day she'd go to the stable, but the stable could just be part of her imagination. The audience of this poem is whoever the speaker is telling a story of her past to. She asks them a rhetorical question at the beginning that says, "Can it be that there was only one summer that I was 10? A response is not given in this poem, so you can assume that it is rhetorical. It is an intended audience. It is just whoever she is telling a story of her childhood to. The purpose of this poem is to show how vivid and intense the speaker's imagination once was. She believes that she turned into a centaur as she was running through her backyard one afternoon in the summer. She says, "My head and my neck were mine, yet they were shaped like a horse. My hair flopped to the side like the mane of a horse in the wind." She later says, "I was the horse and the rider." The magical adventure is interrupted when she must go home, which is a shift back to reality. The overall importance of this poem is showing how important childhood is as the reader reminisces on this memory. The subject of this poem is the speaker thinking about the past and how she would play outside every afternoon when she was 10 in the summer. She tells a story of a time she was riding a horse and she made it out of a branch. After a while, she started to turn into a centaur, being both the rider and the horse. After it all, she must go back inside to her mother, who questioned her and asked why her mouth was all green, and her response was, "Raw boy pulled some clover as we crossed the field." The tone of this poem is the speaker seems proud and happy with this memory of her imagination that was once so great. There are a few devices. There is a simile that states, "My hair flopped to the side like the mane of a horse in the wind." There's also imagery throughout the whole poem. And there is an analogy when she states, "I was the horse and the rider." There are two shifts. First, when she shifts into her imagination and becomes the centaur, and then when she must shift out of her imagination back into reality.